Thank you so much for joining me today to talk to you about Chester Live's Have You Met Michelle Cairns? Because we have a journalist, national journalist, in one of my favourite publications. I love your property network.
It's brilliant, isn't it?
Oh, it really is. It's so good. I've kept every single copy I've had since the late 90s.
Wow.
Stacked up. But it really, it really is.
Yeah, the amount of people who've told me they've kept all of their copies and they've got like little post-it notes in them to say, this was a purchasing option, or this was a flip, or just little gems in there. There are it's a
Well, what I
brilliant
usually
resource.
do is on the spine, I'll put, if there's a particular focus, because I think it's a really good publication, obviously, which is why I've kept everyone. But you often have like a focus on HMOs, or a focus on joint venture, or a focus on serviced accommodation. And so it's just good for referencing, not just to know the date that it was published, but what the kind of focus of the magazine was. Anyway, would you mind just starting by telling your story, because it's a lovely story, how you got to where you are today, Michelle, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure. Not sure where to start really, but I suppose life before property, I was a teacher. So I suppose not many people kind of expect that, and they usually expect me to say primary, but no, I was teaching French and Spanish to secondary school children, and did that for about 7 or 8 years. Taught English as a foreign language as well when I lived abroad, and I loved so many aspects of teaching, and got into it thinking this was everything I wanted, and thought this was my career forever. And quickly kind of realized that as much as I loved it, there were aspects of it that I thought were more challenging, and I just thought, am I going to last in this until I'm 68, which is my retirement age? And although the holidays are great as a teacher, it can be an incredibly stressful job. And so I just thought, I need a backup plan in case this doesn't work out. And that coincided with reading the Rich Dad Poor Dad book, and then I just thought, I read it, and even though I'd kind of, as you know, I've sort of been exposed to some of these ideas in the past for some reason. I don't know what it was, but a bit of cliche because a lot of people say this, but when I read the book, it just clicked. That's the only way I can kind of describe it. I just thought, wow, how have I got to this age and I've not realized this, and no one's taught me this, and I have got through school and university and life to this point. So yeah, I just thought that was it. So I literally Googled Chester property, and then it came up with a networking meeting. I went to my first networking meeting. I sat there and just thought, this is it. This is what I've been looking for. This makes sense to me. I can see how I can do it. I can see how this is a long-term way of building an alternative income where I didn't have to trade my time for money. So I've traded a lot of time for my money, but let's just be clear, this has not been any overnight get rich quick thing, but I was under no illusion that it would be. And obviously you can see through the the presentations people make. I think they're selling the dream, obviously, but I think when you kind of see the potential in something, I thought, this is just so, what I loved about it, it was just unlimited. So whereas teaching, I was putting my heart and soul, blood, sweat and tears every day, and for sort of a limited reward, really. And as much as I tried to make the French and Spanish as fun as I could make it, and as relevant and engaging, it just there was always that limit to certainly the salary. I was never gonna be retiring before I was 68 on that salary. So I just loved the fact that there was anything could happen. I could come across any deal, any plot of land worth a couple of million. It just that it was exciting. And obviously I basically reinvented myself from scratch. I didn't know anything about property beforehand, so that was it. I just threw myself into it, completely absorbed into the whole literature and understanding everything from scratch and learnt what I like to say, I learnt a new language in
Yeah,
property.
I know you did. I mean, you and I first met, I think, about 3 years ago, something like that. And I love that you have engendered in Chester this lovely open feeling of, sharing information. You run 2 property meets. You have, well, you usually will have a meeting, won't you, in the abode on a Thursday evening, which is like a networking get together. And that's a lovely experience because people share contacts, and you're wonderful at, I often call you and say, Michelle, have you got? And yes, you always have. But it's all very open, and it's all very, we are better together, aren't we, the investment community, really.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's, better together, but also going a step further and saying the community, the local community is just so important. It's just, to me, that there's no other way of working. And I think that I realized that property, a lot of it was about building relationships. It's about sort of who you can rely on, and that only comes with time. The sort of trust and reliability, and the fact that that meeting for me was, the abode, well, before COVID, it's about 4 years that I've been running every single month. Whether there was 2 people there, whether there was 20 people there, it didn't matter to me. What mattered was about showing up, being there. Just, that people, if they couldn't make it that month, they knew it was still happening. They knew that they could come next month. And also you get to really see people's journeys in property, which was just brilliant as well. And some of the people who've attended, and their stories and their projects, and seeing the real life struggles as well behind the kind of, or glossy photos and the, the Facebook posts. It's,
Yeah.
here's the real life, here's what happened, and
Mm.
we survived. So yeah, that's always been, I set it up because to be honest, it was just part of my social life. I just thought I wanted to get to know people who had similar values and shared the same goals. And I love this quote that, basically hang around with people where your goals are normal to them. And I suppose that's what I want to achieve. So it's open to everyone. I always say that the experienced and the curious, anyone's welcome there. And yeah, so that's where
I love that. I love the Thursday. Obviously, that's not happening at the moment, but hopefully, not too much longer, and you can get that back going. And also, you do a breakfast club, don't you?
Yeah, that came from the evening meeting. So I just noticed a few people approached me and said, do you know what, it'd be great this is great as this kind of social evening and catch up with everyone. And there's lots of people. Sometimes you don't get to speak to everyone, you don't get to hear everyone's stories. And there was a point where a few people said it'd be great to make it more formal. And one person used the word syndicate as to kind of bring together not just funds but ideas and help each other in a more formal way. So that was the intention for the breakfast meeting. Was it's a sort of mastermind session, and a lot of people come every month. Some people are are regulars, and some people dip in and out, and that's fine. But that has definitely, there's been deals that have been created, there's been joint venture partners that have come together through it, and just in a sort of more formal, more professional environment where we can support each other, we can discuss things in a more confidential way. That's like, okay, this is what I'm struggling with, or this is what I'd like help with, or here's an opportunity, who can I rely on in the group? So that was a support sort of tighter version of the evening meeting. And as you know, just another place to share ideas. So
yeah, it's working really, really well. And I think the WhatsApp group as well of those people, it's a great resource. And of course, you've been a regular for us. We run about every 6 to a few months a cash flow evening, and you've been a regular there, and they've been great fun as well, haven't they? Just getting
absolutely. We're overdue one now.
We are definitely overdue, and I think we had one the week, didn't we? We got locked down.
Yes.
But yeah, I think the time hopefully will come very soon where we can get back and see each other face to face. I don't know how you're finding it, but certainly from home sale, home let, we're finding an awful lot of investors have come to the market over the last few weeks. It is incredibly busy, and that's a wide variety of investors. There's the seasoned investors, which isn't a great surprise. There's people who have just a few properties, and there's also people who are thinking, I really don't want to keep money in the bank. I really do want to get into property. So I think that was another reason why I thought I wanted to reach out to you, because you're such a great person to know. And you know, you have got a lot of contacts, you have got a lot of opportunities.
You know, there's a lot of opportunities and there's a lot of movement at the moment, you know, and not just movement with tenants, as you know, and people moving house, but movement with money. And people have seen what's happened in the stock market, they've seen what's happening in the banks, and they're not getting any return on their money, and maybe a bit nervous about the banks as well. And they're just thinking, okay, you know, houses as in, you know, the safest investment, as safe as houses, as they say, and you know, maybe a bit more long term thinking about the future and their pensions, and you know, especially job uncertainty and income. And I think, you know, investing in property answers a lot of those questions. So I think you just touched on there about people looking for deals, and I think that a deal means something different to everybody. You know, a deal to you might be different to me, a different deal to me or to an investor. So I think there's a lot of opportunities on the horizon, and I think understanding what you know, what a deal means to you as an investor, what you're looking for, you know, the more clarity you have around that will help you identify the right opportunity for you.
And the pathway, you know, to some people it is about, you know, cash flow, isn't it? And for some people it is just about capital appreciation and a little bit of cash flow. But yes, I think you're right, getting some clarity on what your personal strategy is, I think is really important, probably up front before you delve too deeply, which is why it'd be good to reach out to people. So if anyone wants to make contact with you, they can, and we'll put those links in this post. But thank you very much, Michelle, for taking the time today. As ever, it's lovely to see you.
Thanks for inviting me. It's been great to speak to you, Lisa.
Good to see you. See you
See you
soon.
soon.
Bye.